Hey, hey, hey. What's going on, everybody? Good to be back. It's been a while. Want to welcome you. This is JASI Coaching Podcast with your host, Coach Nurse. As you listen, be inspired to know better to be better. In this episode, we will discuss the term technostress. What is it? What are the effects of it? And how can we manage it? Let's go. So, technostress is a form of occupational stress that is associated with information and communication technologies, such as the internet, mobile devices, and social media. It is seen in many organizations at all levels, with affected employees becoming anxious or overwhelmed by working in computer mediated environments in which there is a constant flow of new information. The effects of technostress. There are some significant detrimental effects on individuals, such as their health, productivity, work satisfaction, predictor of overall job strain. Negative health consequences. There are symptoms that affects a person's physical, emotional, and behavioral health. There's concentration and focus problems, productivity challenges, body posture and muscle tension, insomnia, to include panic attacks, chronic fatigue, depressive disorders, and general burnouts. Affects individuals' psychological and physiological health, such as frustration, anxiety, fatigue, irritability, such as being easily frustrated, difficulty sleeping, feelings of not being effective at one's job, lack of motivation or feeling apathetic, difficulty concentrating, focusing, or thinking clearly. The inability of an individual to disconnect impacts work life balance and job satisfaction due to constant accessibility. Some examples of technostress: cell phones, instant messages, social media platforms, notifications. So, for us to be able to minimize technostress and setting healthy boundaries, we may need to start monitoring our screen time. For those Apple users out there, there is a way to check and monitor how much you are on your social media, your different types of apps, just so you can get a gauge on how much time is being spent on technology. With these health um, factors and how your health can be negatively impacted with this constant uses of technology, that may be something to implement. Minimizing your notifications, like turning off those notifications to where you're not constantly looking at your phone and you see that red bubble stating that you have a notification. It may help to minimize those social media apps, text messages, emails, and maybe even contacts, those phone calls. It's a great idea to detach from your devices like your phone, your computer, your tablet, etc. That will help with setting some healthy boundaries, reducing unnecessary communication, like, for example, set time to answer personal and work communication. And lastly, disconnect and set boundaries to improve work life balance. The reason why I would like to put this in my podcast is because technostress has affected me, and finding it difficult to balance work as well as personal. It seems like lines have been, or easily, is easily to be crossed. And there's times where I feel as though I have to set these boundaries. It was affecting my personal life, my mental focus, even in the work environment, to where my productivity was diminishing. And once I cut off certain contacts, notifications, doing work, even when I'm at home, my focus has improved. And I also feel my stress levels have improved to where I feel more productive, efficient. But there has been, or seem as though there's consequences to that. Those who do not understand how techno stress impacts others, it seems to be a lack of empathy or understanding as to why this communication needs to be minimized. Um, I don't know if anyone out there, their job may utilize their cell phone, and it's not their work phone, and may not be able to set those boundaries. And it causes you some frustration. It causes, you know, like this anxiety because it's like, hey, I'm off. Why am I being contacted? Or what have you, even at work, that's your personal phone. It's different if it was a work phone and it was part of your contract to be contacted so many hours a day or whatever like that. But there still need to be some healthy boundaries. And I would like to speak about this. I think that those lines have been blurred or crossed, and it's taken huge advantages of individuals such as myself that do not appreciate that type of infiltration, in my personal life. And it's looked upon at times negatively, or I feel as though sometimes I'm treated differently because I have those boundaries. And I'm at the point where I would like to be more assertive in keeping those boundaries. It's affected me to the point where my mental health, psychological health, I, you know, my just my health in general is more important. And if that cannot be understood, now we have a serious discussion that needs to be had. Um, it's not in certain contracts that you should be accessible the way that it seems as though some jobs, they set the expectation, but again, it's not part of the job description or job requirement. In their studies, the information I gave earlier, these are from studies of how technostress is impacting employees. And so if you are like an employer, I would like this podcast to really be an eye opener that this needs to be a discussion. This needs to be um, something on the forefront because it's affecting employees. I know I'm one person, but again, studies have been done, and this is becoming more relevant because technology is huge. And with that being said, where does it stop? I understand that we utilize technology to do our jobs. Okay. For example, I utilize my computer to do PowerPoints and communicate via email and things of that sort. But now we have other types of electronic usage that constantly impedes on trying to focus on my main job. And that becomes very difficult, to focus, to again be efficient and do what I was hired to do. So if an employer wants you to be productive, I think it needs to be a huge consideration as to how much technology usage and accessibility is needed for our employees. When do we take a look in the mirror and say enough is enough? Our employees do not need to be contacted or, interrupted so much. It's detrimental to the employee and again back to their productivity. So what is more important? you know, um, and then you have employees a bit disgruntled and feeling some kind of way, to where it's like, look, I'm trying to do my job, but I'm constantly being interrupted with technology. You know, um, there's these unrealistic expectations that you need to be available, and that is really difficult, to where that makes it a really tough work environment, to where it's like, okay, I can, constantly check my emails, I can constantly check IMs, I can constantly be answering my cell phone, but then how much work am I getting done? And if I'm not getting work done because I'm constantly being interrupted, how much time or more time am I giving to the job just to get the main job done? And then I come back to work, I'm not fully revived. I'm just tired, and I become so tired that I get burnt out. And now I'm like looking at, okay, is this job really worth it? You know? So it's like, how do you want it? How should it be? Do you really value the health of your employees? This could be not just talking about work, but this could be personal too. You know, what is a line to being contacted? Now I appreciate my friends, I appreciate my family. Our times may be different, when it comes to availability. So that's why you may shoot a text message, because that person could check it whenever they want. So, but if I don't have my notifications off, if I have my little thing, every time a message come through and I'm in the middle of sleeping and a message comes through at 1 a.m., it's like I could be distracted. And then I'm startled out of my sleep. So I have to make a conscious effort of, I silence my phone. I have it on do not disturb, because those little things uh distracts me, and so to where my sleep is being altered and I'm not getting the REM sleep that is needed to recover, to do what I need to do mentally, physically the next day. So just keeping in mind and being considerate too of others, you know. Something else with the techno stress is like with the accessibility, it's like, you give your phone number to someone and then all of a sudden your phone number is in a group text. And it's like, whoa, did I give, permission for that? Especially, some jobs, it's like you give your number to one person and they just think they're at liberty to share that number with others without your permission, and it's just like, wait a second, or jobs requiring certain apps to be placed on your phone, or, so you can get your emails and this and that. It's like, I don't necessarily want that. So I'm not doing it, because I'm looking at it from a standpoint that's my personal phone, so it's like, um, these expectations out there, and that weighs on the employee, to the point is like, really, is this worth it? When is enough enough? So techno stress, I believe, needs to be discussed, needs more studies. I've mentioned already, in this podcast, how it affects us. I know I said it pretty fast, but it can affect your health. And so don't say on one side, hey, we want that work life balance. But on the other side, we're impeding and constantly pushing technology and being accessible due to technology, you know, um, and like it should be okay. Well, I'm speaking that it's not okay. And I'm setting those boundaries. I'm saying that it is enough. And if I need to be more assertive, I'm striving to do that. And there may be people that's listening to this right now. It's like, you know what? I'm in that boat. I'm not wanting to be disrespectful or in any kind of way, but it seems as though I have to say something, Going back to my example with the phone number. I gave you my phone number. That's it. Not you and the whole staff or you and the whole family, or I gave it to you, so let's respect one another. Let's respect private, personal versus work. Let's respect that. And I want to make aware that technology has just like inserted itself to where, it's uncomfortable, it is limitless. And I'm like, no, I'm putting a boundary on that. You can dislike me, you can try to expect that from me. My answer to that is no. Enough is enough. Okay. I need to do my job, or I need to have my personal time. I need to recover from the stresses on a day to day. You know what I mean? And I need to value myself enough to say that enough is enough, no more of that. So personally, just talking to those who listen to my podcast, um, I have blocked people. I have silenced my phone. I have where it says, okay, notifications stop. Only notifications can come through from certain people, what have you. That's what I have to do for my sanity. I'm doing it. So that's one flip side of technology, that you can do that to set those boundaries. And it's like, there's a reason. Is a reason why those settings are available, because it could be too much. When it comes to the banner notifications and all that, I silence it all. When it asks, when you download an app, do you want notifications on this? Nope, I don't. So when I check it, it's at my liberty to check it when I want to, not when I see it and all of a sudden, oh, I gotta look, you know, it'll be there, and two, it's just like, if there's a response required, we need to give one another time to check it and then respond. And so I've mentioned this to some, that it's like the standard is at least 24 hours, let's say at work or whatnot. It should be at least 24 hours. If you're not getting in touch with people in ample amount of time to where they can, think about the response and things of that nature, it's like, well, uh, how how is the system working to where it needs to be within this time, within this hour, within this 2 hours, and or within that day, is that a reasonable expectation of employees? I'm speaking now from the workplace. Is that where we're at now, where, because things are so accessible, that I need to be available to respond in such a short amount of time, and not thinking of, or being in a sense empathetic to, you have a job to do, and you're doing multiple things as well, so it's just like having that empathy, that compassion, that one another's time is not on the same timeline, so it's like, this techno stress, it's blurring those type of limitations, because 20, 30 years ago, there wasn't that much accessibility to people. You know what I mean? So it's like, this is pretty dangerous in a sense. But I'm just speaking for myself. I'm not going to allow this to impede on my mental, my physical, my emotional health. um, if the repercussions again is not being liked, or not doing what others want me to do, well, I'm more important. you know, my health is more important. And it's not that there's not ways to communicate, but it needs to be within some boundaries, and the expectation should not be now, because of technology, and how quick and rapid communication can happen, you know? So I'm hoping that this is not like, well, maybe you're just old school or this and that, but why is there studies, stating like this is becoming out of control, So I'm hoping to encourage in this podcast employers to reflect on this and look at the structure of organizations. Is this becoming um, too much for employees? This constant accessibility, having these expectations that they should be available, even though it's not written, it's not part of contracts, it's not because I think you know better in a sense, like you really, I'm hoping that you really want to have the best interests of your employees. And then on a personal sense, keeping in mind that, hey, maybe this is um, not a reasonable time to be contacting, you know, or what have you. Just being conscientious of that, right? Um, and giving people time to respond within their a reasonable response time. And that doesn't equate to the right now. It needs to be right now. So you know, just a little something to put out there. I do think it's a discussion that needs to be had, and I want to also encourage anyone that is dealing with techno stress to set healthy boundaries. There's times you have to be assertive and say enough is enough, as I mentioned before. So be encouraged in doing that because it can get worse, and then it's a spiral, to where you're already feeling frustration first, and then anxiety, and then lack of efficiency. And so it seems like, am I incapable of doing my job because of all these other layers that has been pounded on top of that? And that's totally unfair to you. So with that, we need to be assertive in saying enough is enough. I probably should have titled this "Enough is Enough" versus techno stress, but it is what it is. But be encouraged. Your health means more. And how can you be the employee or family member or just citizen, a healthy citizen, if you're constantly being bombarded with technology? So be encouraged out there. Um, for those who are listening, I would like to thank you for checking out the JASI Coaching podcast. If you found this encouraging and worth sharing, please share it, like it, subscribe to it. You can also support through a generous donation. And I want to just thank you again for tuning in. And until next time, continue to be inspired to know better, to be better.